So how do you build a new relationship connection post-divorce? That's an important question to ask because if you've ever been married before, you usually want to find someone else that is a better match for you if your marriage came to an end or any committed relationship. What I'm going to share with you in this video is 3 factors that if you master these 3 will guarantee you'll never experience the pain that you experienced before. Now that may sound amazing, but it's true. It is possible. But before I share those 3 factors with you, let me share with you what's going to happen if you don't master them, which is what happens to most of us. I was married 20 years. In 2010, marriage came to an end. 3 years, I did not date at all. Then I started dating. So I've been in the marketplace. And it took me a long time to get back to the point of being willing to commit to marriage again. I made the mistakes, and so I want to share these with you. Here's the first, self-sabotaging. Chances are you're going to self-sabotage a relationship with someone that you may be attracted to. Why? Because if you still feel the hurt or if you remember the hurt from a previous relationship, your marriage or a committed relationship, it creates an alarm system. That alarm system creates certain barriers or certain boundaries. And if you feel the same emotions, the same attraction for someone new, usually we may do something, we may say or do something that's dumb, that's stupid, that causes that person to reject us, so we don't have to go through those emotions again, because that's the hurt is still there. That's the first thing. Second thing that can happen is we will begin to engage in transient, short-term relationships for the sake of the excitement of it. Why? Because it feeds our ego. It satisfies our need to feel needed, our want to feel wanted, a desire to be desired. That's number 2. Number 3 leads to number 3, which is having a friend network. For a guy, you have a friend network of females that you have access to. For a female, you have a network of guys you have access to. The problem with that is that as you continue to engage in those type of relationships, the great qualities that you had that made you a solid person, a good person, a valuable person to be with, you begin to lose them. That's number 1. Second is you will miss out on the person that is for you, someone of value, because you are busy entertaining the options available. And if you've ever experienced what I'm just sharing with you, you know it to be a fact and you know it to be true. Most people post-divorce or post the end of any committed relationship look for qualities in the next person that their ex didn't have, thinking that will guarantee success. It doesn't work. It usually can't work, and I'll share with you why in a moment. But before I get into that, here are the 3 qualities that you need to have. You have to develop factors. And I'll go into detail with them in a moment. The first is to decide in advance not to compromise your great qualities that made you a solid, valuable person because you want to please someone else, someone that you may meet. That's number 1. Number 2 is be very clear about your perspectives, your perspectives, so that you don't become jaded by relationships that weren't for you from the very beginning. Number 3, I'm going to save that for a second because number 3 I'm going to spend the most time on. So let's go back. The reason why finding a relationship or finding a mate, a partner, a prospect that has the qualities your ex didn't have, the reason it doesn't work is because we have to be ready for that person. And if we've engaged in the 3 things I just shared with you, self-sabotage, transit relationships, and a friendship network, usually we won't be ready. Now, genuine connections are made when you are your true self. Your values, your beliefs, your ideals make up your identity. When you clearly communicate that, that becomes a magnet to attract the person that is for you. Because the person you're looking for, the person you're open to, is also looking and open to finding you. And you may be experiencing the same frustrations. You just don't know it yet because you haven't crossed each other's path. And that's number 1. Number 2, I just mentioned, be realistic about your perspective and your prospects so that you don't become jaded. Here's what that means. If you have a child from a previous relationship, then it's important to communicate or to be able to determine whether someone that you may consider dating is open to a blended relationship, a blended family. If you don't do that, and you don't have to do it the first date or the second date, but you need to know. That way you don't waste your time interacting with someone who does not want kids, who's not open to a blended relationship. Otherwise, you may feel rejected when the relationship comes to an end as if you're not enough. And that's not the case at all, especially if you had your child in your first relationship, in your first marriage. So it's important. Here's the second element of that, your realistic perspective, realistic perspectives. Decide, figure out, think about, ponder the personality type that both of you need to have to bring out the best in each other. Extremely important. Most of us haven't even thought about that, haven't even considered it. We simply go along and we get into interaction with someone because we're physically attracted to the person. And that usually ends in the cycle: meet, greet, make up or make out, break up. That cycle. That's a vicious cycle to be in if you stay in it too long. So it's important to know exactly. For example, in my case, I was married for 20 years. Marriage came to an end in 2010. I already told you the story. I was single I just did focused for 2 or 3 years, started dating. And here's the thing. I found a woman who was outstanding. Outstanding. And you will too. It'll be as if by accident. Found her, treated me at a level that I've never experienced before, but guess what? Guess who was not ready? I wasn't ready. I'm still interacting with my soon-to-be ex and trying to have a peaceful divorce. Was not ready. And after 4 years, she finally moved on to someone else because it was not in a good space for me. And then when I finally recovered, got myself back on track, mental clarity, emotional balance, it took me 2 years to forgive myself for how I handled that relationship. The blessing was right there. I wasn't ready for it, and I wasn't even expecting the blessing, not expecting someone to meet someone of that caliber. Lesson learned. That was years ago. Here's the third, most important, that will help you if you master this one and do okay on the others. But if you master this one, you will become a magnet to the person that you're looking for, and you'll be ready for them. Here it is. You must forgive yourself and your ex for the mistakes mistakes you made that caused your relationship to come to an end. Here's the reason why. People get married, especially in the United States, 50-50 chance of success. If that marriage comes to an end, they find someone else. If they marry that person, they have a 60% chance of failing the second time. If that comes to an end and they do it again, they have a 70% chance of failing the third time. Why is that? You would think that, with more experience, your chances of succeeding will go up, not down. It's because we develop, as I mentioned earlier, those mental alarms, that barrier, those boundaries, those intolerances are what we're not going to put up with. And as soon as we see it, we transfer it over. And therefore, we discover we're not fully healed. So, forgive. Here's one thing that's important about forgiving. You must forgive your ex without an apology. Number one, because an apology does not stimulate, does not motivate forgiveness. That's not how it works. Here's how an apology really works, and you'll agree with what I'm about to share with you. An apology only works for an offense that caused you pain if the apology is made immediately after the offense, after the hurt. Proverbs says a word causing pain makes anger to come up. An apology does not work if too much time has passed between the offense and by the time the person figures out that they need to apologize. Because when we are offended, we want the person to apologize. We don't necessarily need them to acknowledge what they did. But when the person does not apologize, does not acknowledge what they did, and worse, justifies what they did that caused us pain, the anger is there. That protective mechanism is there. So if they apologize 2 or 3 years later, it doesn't do anything if you haven't forgiven them. Here's the reason why. Because the emotional bank account we have with that person is not just at zero. Zero is why the relationship came to an end. It's bankrupt. It's at negative. So an apology at best can only bring it back to zero. It can't make it positive. Again, that's just human nature. And if you're a solid person, you gave your absolute best, that's how it works. So here's what the Apostle Paul said. And I read someplace that the Apostle Paul is one of the 9 hidden history makers that shifted history. Here's what he said in the book of Corinthians. He said to forgive one another freely if anyone has a cause for complaint against another. So he said the cause is legitimate. We forgive freely, not for that person, we forgive for ourselves. So that if and when they apologize, we are receptive to the apology, but not dependent on the apology because we've already moved forward and forgiven them. Our heart is now opened again. Learn the lesson from a previous relationship, the pain from it, yes, but learn the lesson so it becomes positive pain. Once you learn a lesson from something, experience, and it's done, you can let it go. Our heart is open again to find the person that we deserve, that we need. Because if you don't feel you need someone, don't be bothered. That this thing about, I don't need this person, I don't need that, don't be bothered. Because the person that is for you, that is your match, that is valuable, not only do you discover you need them, but you want them because you need them. Keep that in mind. So that's the end of this video. I hope you guys like my new studio. It cost me a lot of money to get this thing done. And I've delayed, it's been like months since I've done a video. Let me apologize for that. But next week, the video I'm going to do is on a principle that will help you find the person. Because as you date, everybody's not going to be your match. You have to let it go. But it's how you let it go. John Gray in the book, Mars and Venus on a Date, has a principle that says good ending equals good beginning. And below that, he has 5 points that are solid points about how to end a relationship that's not for you so your heart stays open and ready for the new relationship that may come your way. And remember, the law of polarity says opposites always exist. So the person you're looking for is looking for you. The frustrations you feel by not being able to find him or her, they feel. And you will eventually cross paths as if by accident. But it will be useless if you're not ready and not open for the person. So this is long-term for your happiness, for your enjoyment, for your contentment, because you can make all the money you want to make. But without somebody to share it with, build a life with, fill up your bucket list with, it's not that really valuable in the end. If you like this video, please like it. If what I've shared with you is valuable, you can apply. Hopefully you can. Subscribe. You get the notification. Hopefully you get notification for when I do the video, the follow-up part 2 of this next week, and I'll get it out on time. And then after that, I'm going to shift the topic to something else. When we'll be talking about relationship, we'll talk about something different. And as always, I want to wish you all the blessings and success you deserve. Thanks for hanging in with me while I got this little YouTube studio together, get my little fear of being on the camera, like talking to the person directly out of the way, but I'm going to stay committed. You stay committed to me, I'm going to stay committed to you. God bless.